But without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers. So today we have Fedwa starting up. Fedwa, with over 20 years of major pursuit and bidding experience, Fedwa has led win strategies and operations across multiple geographies and organizations such as Accenture, Ericsson, Capita, and beyond. Last year, Fedwa left to build what she kept wishing existed. So she co-founded Syntrix. At its core, it is a tech startup building an enterprise SaaS for regulated industries bidding and, by popular demand, work-winning advisory practice. As a side note, Fedwa is an intentionally visible neurodiverse leader committed to normalizing women leading authentically with neurodiversity. A diversity and equity champion and dedicated to delivering work that matters through positive outcomes to businesses and communities. So without further ado, please help me welcome Fedwa again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is... That's the speaker. Yeah.
So I think, okay. Well, thanks. I hate these things. Can you hear me without it?
And I think... Yes, but we can't record the session, so maybe we'll put the...
What do you mean?
We can't record the sound if it's not on.
I hate this thing.
Do we... Maybe we can... yeah, if you want to just leave it
I'll just
on
put
your
it a
top,
bit lower.
if you're comfortable with that.
It distracts me.
That's fine, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thanks, Amir, although you're making me wear the microphone.
Well, you don't have to.
Thank you
but
very
it's
much for
preferred.
organizing this, seriously. And I'm really, really pumped today about this session. I think it's going to be a good one. I'm here, I'm not an expert on building with design partners. Yeah, I'm supposed to do that, don't I? Yeah. But what I'm here is to really share with you the journey, what we've done so far, where we are in the trenches, what we've learned, what are the challenges. And as a side bit, I have put together a bit of 3-4 slides with few frameworks that I've used personally because I'm one of those people who goes down the rabbit hole and does a lot of research when I try to do something new. But again, I hope that you will get something from the session, but I'm also very, very excited to hear about what Josh did on his journey and also about you. I mean, a room full of really clever people, so should make for a really, really interesting exchange. So thanks for that. So let's see where we are. So this morning, as I normally do when I have something like this, I was just reflecting, what are the points I really, really would like to leave this meeting with? And suddenly, as my brain goes into funny places, I just had this tickle and a chuckle and also a bit of a cringe because I thought, if it was me who is going to these keynote speaking or presentation or whatever they call it, and I don't know this person, I will do a mild amount of snooping, or what I would also call nosy cow with Wi-Fi, and I would go into their 1999, content in LinkedIn, and I'll check their website. Sorry, you hand up? You can't hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, sorry, I took it off. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Yeah, so I was saying that I'll do a bit of snooping, and try to size the company, the person, the expertise, see if it's actually interesting for me. And I had this cringe because I thought, God, if they go into our website, why the fuck will they come? But again, the point is, we really didn't care about our website, and we're doing what every early stage startup does, which is presenting mild amount of confusion with a very, very confident face. So, but ultimately, what we wanted at this stage is to have design partners, and the enterprise design partners, they don't really care about a shiny website. We know we need to do one, but we have a lot of other things to do. So what do design partners or enterprise design partners really care about? Well, I think they care about trusting. And trust is not built in one conversation. It's built over years, sometimes decades. Unfortunately, Mark is not here, my partner in crime, for me to give him a bit of hard time and say, well, he knows about the decades, not me, which he doesn't like very much. But anyway, it's all about that building that trust. And how you build the trust? Well, you build it because you've been there, you've helped them, you've delivered for them without pitching. They've asked you for your opinion, you give it your objective and honest opinion, even if it was not necessarily beneficial for your company or your business. And you know their pains, you've helped them with that. And also, the other thing that really, really builds trust is that if you are going to be building into an industry which is not a tech industry, like bidding, for example, or sales, whatever, you do need to understand the pains of that industry. You need to have been in the trenches. And I suppose that's where we've had that, advantage in a way, Mark and I. I mean, between the two of us, we have about 50 years combined of strategic pursuit experience. Is there any water? My mouth is really dry. That'd be really good. Yes, so that makes for a really good start. So we already knew people in the industry. We've been talking to these people. They know us. We've earned, I suppose, the place to have those conversations around what's hard for them in the pursuits, what works, what doesn't work, etc. And I suppose the other good thing about having 50 years combined in the industry is that we're probably together with Byron, our tech co-founders, some of the oldest co-founders in Australia. I mean, our combined age is 160 years. So we're nimble, we're a startup, we're really enjoying it, but we all wear reading glasses, I'm afraid. But hey. So what is a design partner? What we hear this term very, very loosely, and what is not is someone who's going to actually look at your pilots and tell you how great it is. It's not a beta testing. This is someone who is going to commit with you before you even have a product. They want to put skin in the game because they know that they're going to get something out of it because they trust you enough to do that. But for a design partnership to be successful, I suppose, it needs to have three things. It needs to be structured, because if not, you're going to get into trouble. When I say structured, it needs to be clearly defined. You need to understand what's your scope. You need to have discussed what are the KPIs, what are you going to be measuring, what is in scope, what is out of scope. If not, you're going to go into, creep purgatory, and rather than having someone finance your build, you're going to be losing money or actually financing their little fantasy for day one. It needs to be time bound. It can't go forever. Yeah, so time bound is very, very, very important because you can't just go forever. This is actually just a step in the journey. You are going to work together because you have mutually beneficial interests, and you are going to define what you are going to do during that period. The mutually invested is very, very, very important. First of all, if they don't have the pain that you're trying to fix, forget it. Don't fall in love with them. Don't think, oh, they have the great logo. Wouldn't it be great to have? No, because it's not good. They need to have that pain, because if not, they're not going to commit to working with you. They're not going to put the time. This is people who are busy. They have their own jobs, and you're asking them to come and have all these sessions with you to co-design, to help you kind of improve your product, your functionalities, to challenge you, etc., and to test it. So it's important to kind of define it very early on. And it's very important to choose well. Don't fall in love until you qualify them. Very, very important. this is also very important because I don't know how many, I mean, we know a lot of people in the industry, and I don't know how many people have called us when they knew we were doing this. This sounds amazing. We really want to talk to you about it. And then you have 2 or 3 sessions with them. And then when they know that you're not going to do it for free, and that could be not because they are bad people or because they are just messing you around, or it could be just because they don't have the authority to bring everyone in to the table. Because funny enough, you'll think that being a startup, doing a co-design with this big company, they're going to be easy on you, but actually they're really, really nervous because there is a lot of risks that they need to mitigate. So whoever is gonna be your champion need to have enough pull internally in the company to bring the decision makers. Is that better now? Yeah. Okay. To bring the decision makers, to bring all the other people who are going to take you through the due diligence, and to have enough political pull within the company, not to, piss off everyone. So someone could be really, really good mate of you in a company, you've worked together for a long time, but they don't have the characteristics to bring those people together. It's not going to work. And that's important. So you need to be very clear about the people who are just cheering you up, which is great. And you can still, chat to them and ask them about stuff, but you need commitment. You need people who are going to commit. And that's why you qualify. And that's why, this is where I need my notes because I have a sieve of a brain. How do you qualify? What does that mean? Well, the first thing is this actually going to work for them? Is it actually something they really, really need because they have the problem that we're trying to solve? The second thing is, is their problem actually aligned with what we are trying to do? So not everyone does things the same way. I'm talking about an industry that I know. Bidding within reason is pretty clear process, and regulated industry bidding and government bidding and huge, we're talking about hundreds of millions and billions of contracts are really complicated, and they have the same kind of issues. But then not every company deals with that the same way, and you need to make sure that they sit within that ICP, within that center that you're trying to solve. If not, they're not going to be helpful to you. And that means, for example, giving you access to their workflows, their documentation, being open with you about their problems. And this is, again, where trust becomes very, very important. So, yeah, commitment is not only about money. That's, for them, generally, the money is not the issue because it's a very small chunk of change. Their enterprise, you're not charging them a huge amount of money. But it's about, do they want to bother? Do they have really? Are you really going to do something for them? So you need to choose those really clearly. And yeah, qualification very good. So also ask the very awkward questions. Who is going to approve this? Who is going to take us through all the qualifications? Which kind of scrutiny? Which kind of data and security? Level of demands you're going to put on us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So ask those questions. And also a very, very important question. If we are successful together and we're happy at the end of this, co-design, what's your plan? Because that's also important. You want that to be a success and to be a bit of a platform for you after that. So how I'm doing with time? Because I'm really bad with that. So then you have now qualified these people. You know that you have the right people on the table. You have a good champion. And finally, you get that first call of the first design partner. For us, it was December, just before Christmas. And you're in. It's in writing. We're in. We're going to be doing this with you. And you think, yes, this is good now. We're sailing. It's good. And then it's not. Sit down, celebrate, and get ready because this is where the hard work starts. Because we're in is not contract is signed. And to get to that contract is signed, whatever you think it's going to take, it is going to take longer. And if you have some kind of time plan that you want to share with them and tell them, look, we really need to do it this way. This is when we want to start. This is what we want to do. They're just going to laugh at you because they don't care. What they need to do is to make sure that they mitigate the risk of working with a company which is a startup, which is, let's face it, we're not exactly set up and everything is tickety-boo and we're all good. There is a lot of things that are still happening and being developed, etc. So that's when you actually buckle up, because they're going to put you through the ringers. You're going to be put through at least one pre-qualification. We did two with one of the companies. And then they're going to ask you to sign in into this portal and the other portal. There's going to be a whole list of security policies and procedures that they're going to ask you to have ready. And that's, hang on, let's remember we don't have an MVP. Yeah, we're not building yet, but they're going to ask you for that. They're also going to ask you things like, okay, so what is your plan? What is your roadmap for your certification? Because you might not have your ISO yet, but they want to know when you're going to have it, and they will hold you accountable for it. They want to see that you have already thought your architecture. They will ask you about data residency. Then you get into the procurement. That's another story when they start again asking you about other soft policies like, you're a startup and they're asking you about your environmental policy. You need to do this thing for health and safety. It's all, and different companies and different industries ask for different stuff, so you're kind of there. And then, of course, budget, that's going to go through its own thing. You have, like I said, data. You have, again, the IT people. These ones are asking about the things that are going to make their life difficult. Is this going to integrate with our sign-in? Is this going to, how much hassle is going to be? And then there's the risk, et cetera, et cetera. So just to give you an example, one of our first design partner, and the only one I can say the name now because they have agreed for us to go public with GIS, they sent me an email before Christmas saying, yes, we're in. We just signed a contract. And this is people we know, this is people they trust us, etc. It's actually how they work. It's how slow. So you need to have some runway to be able to finance. You know the money is coming. And in our case, we're very lucky because client we worked with before said, no, we want you to keep doing some consultancy work for us. So we have still cash coming in. So that's something you have to consider. And talking about money coming in, design partnership is not going to pay your salaries. If you are building for enterprise, it's not going to be one person coding. It's going to be, you're going to have a team. So the design partnership is going to finance the build. You're still going to be working for free, or you're going to have to find other ways to finance yourself. And that's the reality of it, at least in most of industries. I had some more stuff around this because this is really, really important. Just to give you an idea, one of the companies, we've had to prepare and finalize version 1 of 10 data and security policies and procedures. And again, there's no MVP, there's no product yet. We don't have a product, so we're still building it. What else? This is where actually you also have to be very, very careful. You know what? Just a second. Again, Jesus Christ. Do you want to put this on me? I don't know how to do that. Oh, here we go. Good. All done. So yeah, this is something important I wanted to kind of touch on. That's why I have all this paper, if I can find it. When you're going through this, due diligence and procurement journey, you need to also be careful. They are design partners. Yes, they are going to help you kind of mature your ideas about your design, etc. And it's great. But don't give them IP. That's your IP. So you got to be very careful. This is where if you don't have enough contractual acumen, this is one thing you need to really invest on. Make sure that you get your contract right. Make sure you get your NDA in place. It's quite tricky. You need to get this right. You're dealing with people who are very savvy when it comes to, contractual obligations, IP and all sorts of stuff. So make sure you actually don't give away stuff you shouldn't. And IP is one of them. Very, very important. So, most decent people would not ask you for IP for being design partner. They are getting something. They're getting to have a say on shaping that product that's going to be really fit for purpose for them. And that's what they get out of it because they have that pain that you're trying to solve for them. So contracts, legal is something that you need to consider. And then the other thing, I'm talking about these and it might sound like I'm ranting about it, but actually I was really pleased that we went through the kind of due diligence and rigor that they put us through. You know why? Because it actually matures you as a company. So we ended up really refining our architecture. We ended up really refining our security posture. We ended up, maturing our data and security documents. And that's beneficial for us. Now that we are getting ready to start, we have already started readiness for ISO and SOC too. We have quite a few things that are in place. We had to take care of it because they've asked the hard questions. So they're not your enemy. In fact, it might take a little bit longer. It's a bit annoying. Some of the stuff is just really stupid and ridiculous because you're a startup. But in fact, a lot of it is good for you, so they're not your enemy. And it's going to help you mature as a company. So, I'm thinking the last thing, I suppose, in that, and I talked about it a bit at the beginning, but timeline, scope. What's in scope? What are they allowed to ask for? What you're not going to do for them, very important. How are you going to measure the success of the project? Define it, discuss it, agree it early. Because if not, you're going to be finding yourself in a lake of trouble. So where am I now? Let's see. Yes. We had this once. So you go through all this procurement. You have asked all the awkward questions. You have sat with all the decision makers and the stakeholders, and you have been nice, and you've played nice, and you've done everything they have asked you, and then suddenly someone just pops up. He's never been in the discussion, or she's never been in the discussion. Suddenly, you have to go through a lot of stuff with them, and you need to make sure that you're doing it and keeping the momentum, because some of these people could kill the deal. Generally, they come out because they're probably not happy with what's going on. No one has talked to them before. No, they're a bit grumpy about it. So you gotta take that into consideration. Where we are now, let's see. This is slightly my take on things. Turn instinct into logic. But before even that, you know how we were saying, don't fall in love, qualify? I've had a few colleagues and friends saying, yeah, but I'm really not good. I don't have the instinct for this thing. I thought that it's really going to be okay. And this is even before the startup and the design partnership, even, during sales and big pursuits and stuff. And I just say, instinct in human beings generally is a bit like the fight or flight. We have it to survive the caveman. So just actually turn on your bullshit, thermometer or meter, whatever you want to call it, because if you actually just take the time to listen a bit, what's actually is on and what's actually someone is just going to be wasting your time. And don't waste your time because you don't have a lot. When you're a startup, your resources are so scarce. You really, really have to know how to use them. So that's very important. The other thing for me, which is really important, and this is talking to the whole room, the technical founders and the non-technical founders, is that we complement each other. If you're a technical founder and you're going to build something for, I don't know, the sales or pursuit or whatever, which is not a technical thing and you don't understand it, you do need that person that bridge the gap. The person that actually takes something that's not necessarily a scientific or, very clear process. I mean, bidding is very much that. If you think about it, you can systemize it if you have that kind of thinking. But when you're in a big pursuit, you're under pressure and you're taking these decisions on the fly based on a lot of pieces of information coming at you. And it's very much, I always call it a bit of a science and a black magic kind of thing. So how do you take that and you make it into a system? How do you take that and you explain to those tech people what you want to achieve? That bridge is very important, and you as the craftsman of the industry need to be able to work with people. So system thinking is very important, taking something and trying to make it fit into the technical side. And also, so that's from, so don't underestimate yourself if you're not a technical founder. You're very important. But also technical founders, it's very, very important to be able to work with those people who are not technical and to make it easy for them. So I'm being told I've spoken too long. So last one, build for the buying process. Don't build for the applause, for the shiny stuff. Don't build for the people who said, oh, this is amazing. The innovation team, yes, this is great. We want to work with you. Build for the people that are actually going to take you through the process and they're going to shake your hands, sign the contract, and pay the bill. Make sure that you consider all of those in the process that you're going through. And please think about all the legal elements that you need to consider. Don't just go blind because you're working with this reputable company. And on that note, thank you very much for listening to my rambling. You have some slides with some more structured framework. And if you have any question, I'm more than happy to share the bit of crazy that's going right now with our build.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fedwa. Very quickly, I know we're a bit tight on time, but I'd like to introduce Josh. So Josh is the founder and CEO of Solara Health, where he leads the design and delivery of digital health solutions that improve how patients engage with care. With a strong background in digital health, Josh has worked across strategy, product development, and health service innovation, helping healthcare organizations modernize the patient experience through scalable technology. His work is focused on building practical platforms that reduce frictions for providers while creating more connected and personalized care for patients. Solara Health is an Australian digital health company that helps improve how patients experience care. It builds simple digital tools that connect patients with their care teams in real time. Its main platform, Sky, supports areas like cancer care, orthopedics, and chronic conditions with clear communication, education, and remote check-ins. So please help me welcome Josh. Thank you.
And good news, we're a little bit closer to those tasty treats in the next half an hour or so. So thanks for having me today. I'm Josh Farrington. I'm the founder and CEO of Solara Health. So I launched this company about 2.5 years ago after working in the health tech space for the past 20 years, so my entire career at that point. My background is in biomedical engineering, it's in business, it's in product management and health informatics. So this really nice little intersection that's allowed me to pursue my vision around building a digital health product that I could take to market. But today I'm here to talk about the enterprise, becoming enterprise ready and doing so through the eyes of a health tech founder such as myself. Just a little bit more detail, a little bit more context about the platform that we have created. So it's called Sky. It's a patient engagement platform designed to educate, guide and support hospital patients on long and complex healthcare journeys. So cancer was mentioned before, but ultimately it could be configured to deliver care programs and support protocols for patients across any number of use cases in the hospital, meaning that our end customer is the hospital, who we ultimately will hope to sell to and are in the process of selling to. And then they're the buyer of the platform. They make it freely available to their patients in the hospital. So the patients are the users of our app, and the clinicians in the hospital are the users of the administration portal. Just a little bit more context though around the highly regulated space that is healthcare and selling into hospitals. It's really risk averse, it's really slow moving, often the last to adopt any new technology. So AI is creeping its way into healthcare at the moment, but it will always be one of the last adopters of any new technologies that emerge. It's also really evidence driven. So that means that in order to sell to a hospital, you need to provide good quality evidence to justify the procurement decision that would lead to the use of that technology in the hospital system. So those enterprise buyers, in our case, it's the hospitals, they're looking for evidence and they're looking for proof. They're not interested in promises, visions, roadmap, vaporware, any of that. So there's some challenges there for a health tech startup on day one that doesn't have any of those things except the visions and the vaporware, essentially. The stakes are also really high. There's clinical risks, there's medico-legal risks, there's the risk associated with committing resources, precious hospital resources, to a project or a pilot that may never eventuate into anything at all. So a lot of considerations there and certainly some high risks. So the challenge for us as a health tech startup, therefore, is to think about how we can become more than just this unknown player, this emerging company, and give ourselves some credibility, get our foot in the door. And I'm going to share some details on how we went about that today. So this is the question that we're faced with all the time. You hit the scene, day one, brand new company. Who the hell are these guys, right? Got no product, no references, no revenue. It's quite a risky prospect for a large hospital with such rigorous policies and procedures and practices in place to then want to work with what would be a fairly high risk prospect in the form of a startup that probably doesn't have all of these things in place. So how do we overcome all of that, and how do we manufacture trust and credibility to get our foot in the door? And to answer that, I just want to share how we've gone about it. This is just one approach, and this is an approach that we've taken and that I've found to be quite effective over the past couple of years. And we started by identifying the area that we wanted to work in initially. And for me, that was an oncology patient application. So leveraging my previous professional experience in building a maternity app in a previous role, understanding that something similar could work really well in the oncology space, and then presenting that as a concept to several CEOs and business development managers of public and private hospitals around the country. Most of those contacts that I spoke with were past network and connection contacts. So people who I had sold to previously or worked with in the past, and I really had to leverage that relationship to try and get my foot in the door. One of those 8 hospitals responded and ultimately gave me the executive support from the CEO and provided support to collaborate on that project. So one is all it takes, but if that one hadn't come off, then I'd probably still be looking today. So a little bit of luck never hurts in business for sure. Ultimately was able to secure that CEO support to engage in this collaboration project, which would ultimately see us co-design this solution together, knowing perfectly well that the hospital would benefit from developing and co-designing a solution that was compatible with their existing workflows, something that was really pragmatic and could be integrated into the hospital system. So yeah, really important piece for us in this journey is securing that foundation partner who not only can give us credibility, but could also one day serve as a future reference for us. So a little bit more on establishing credibility early. For us, that was about attaining the reference site. So that hospital that we could then eventually deploy more broadly into and use them as a reference site, build up that case study and demonstrate to the market, to other hospitals, that this is a solution that has been designed for health, by health, and is ultimately something that will generate us case studies and evidence. And this bringing back to one of my earlier points about the need for evidence to justify this as a procurement decision further down the track, and something that could deliver improvements in patient outcomes, patient experience, efficiencies, return on investment, those sorts of things. And I mentioned there that for me, the big part of this was actually leveraging the professional brand. So I often hear about people who move from a technology space they've identified a healthcare problem and they have a really good understanding of technology and try to crack that healthcare space often fail because they don't have that deep understanding of how the healthcare system works, how it's funded, and all of those sort of complexities that come with healthcare. So I think that's what's actually worked really well for me in the past, being able to leverage past successful projects, relationships and networks, and really leaning on that, and then having those conversations with key decision makers and leaning on that domain expertise that then could demonstrate a deep, intimate knowledge of the problem that we're trying to solve and how we would go about doing so. So I think, therefore, my approach has been that collaboration in the early days is a better approach than just trying to sell. So if we're a health tech startup, we're 3 months in, which is what I was when I approached this particular hospital, and I said to them, I want to sell you this product that I'm dreaming up. They would have laughed at me. But instead I said, I've got this idea. I think we should co-design it together. We'll collaborate. It's a low-risk approach. We'll handle all the project management. We'll do the designs. We'll run all the focus groups, all of these types of things. So really just trying to de-risk it from the hospital partner perspective. So I think that's actually, that shift in mindset has been a really successful approach for us. It may vary in terms of different industries, but for health tech, that certainly worked well for me. So we're therefore probably in a position where we're finding ourselves designing for health by health and co-designing with not just the executive team, but actually sitting down and running focus groups with patients, with their family members, with carers. We extended that beyond clinicians to the allied health teams, so all the physios and those involved in the cancer rehab program. We had executives, we had business development, we had marketing. So really all-encompassing approach to this co-design. It wasn't just a case of sitting a couple of cancer patients down and asking them about their problems. It was mapping out real journeys, real workflows, and then validating all of that. And we were in a really fortunate position that they gave us such good access to these key stakeholders, these patients, and those who could provide feedback. And we could just rapidly keep reiterating on our platform and building quite fast. But then we're faced with the next challenge, which is how do we take that from the pilot stage to the product stage? So for us, just thinking about what our platform could potentially do, it could be sold to any single hospital in the department in the country, and each of those hospitals would have 10 to 15 use cases of how they could potentially use that app. So that becomes therefore quite problematic in that our solution is so broad. It could deliver anything. It's at risk of delivering nothing. So we decided we would focus on the cancer space as a starting point. For the first reason is that there's over 1 million Australians currently living with or affected by cancer, and many of those in survivorship stage. But everybody understands cancer in a fairly high level or knows someone who's been affected by cancer. It's relatable and it's a key feature in a lot of the hospitals around the country. So our plan was to start there and then with the view to demonstrate that we can add value in cancer space and roll out more broadly to other departments in the hospital. So that was the vision, that was the plan, and we're in the process of delivering that at the moment. We're able to do so because over the course of our first pilot, we captured outcomes. We had testimonials from clinicians and from patients. We captured usage data that demonstrated that patients were consistently logging in and utilising the application for cancer-based resources. And our next journey, part of that journey, is to go through this final stage now at the moment, which is where we're looking to convert them into a paid expansion. Excitingly, we just have had conversations in recent weeks and the hospital's now rolling it out more broadly into an additional service in the department, and they've got an enterprise-wide license agreement that they're reviewing and will be having a decision over the course of the coming months. So, I can't stand up here and say we've just done this process and sold it and made all this money. That's our process to date. That's where we're up to. But we wouldn't have even been in that position to have that discussion with an enterprise that has 21 hospitals around the country if we hadn't demonstrated some value prior to that. So just to summarise the sort of first part of my presentation, if I had to distill this down into a blueprint that might be repeatable for other health tech startups and hopefully even other non-health tech startups as well, trying to sell into enterprise, I feel like the first thing you really need to do is understand that pain point and demonstrate that to any prospective partner that you have a deep knowledge of that problem that you're trying to solve. Establishing credibility. If you don't have credibility already on a personal level, that's going to make it hard, particularly in health, but there's other ways you can establish credibility through expertise. And some of that's creative marketing and all sorts of things, but establishing that strategic partner for us, that private hospital group that I mentioned, has played a huge role, and I can't imagine what our company would look like or our product would look like if we didn't have that piece of work done. The co-design gives us credibility, it gives us that reference site, gives us that case study. Piloting with the clear outcomes has enabled us to further expand our platform and get into additional departments. And as I mentioned, the next step, the final step really is for us to be able to scale within that network, and there's probably a step missing there, which is then to use all of that collateral to take that to market and say, these are the results, here is the evidence, and this is the successes to date. But the reality of selling to enterprise is that it's not as simple as just building a really nice product. So for us, the process to sell in, even as a partner on a $0 contract for a pilot, was to demonstrate to the hospital that we have mature systems and processes in place, that we're actively pursuing certifications relating to cybersecurity and quality, that we are fully compliant with Australian data sovereignty laws, Australian privacy principles, the Therapeutic Goods Administration requirements, and then to be able to provide all of that documentation to the hospital and their various evaluation committees. As I was putting these slides together, it sort of came to me that sort of the key takeaway, and if there's only one takeaway you get from this, it should be this phrase here. I think it's that for us to be able to sell to enterprise as an early stage startup, we need to operate like an enterprise. So operating like an enterprise for us meant investing in that credibility. So a key thing for us selling into hospitals is the ISO 27001 cybersecurity certification. So that really importantly helps uplift our cybersecurity posture. It helps us protect patient data, which is a huge responsibility for us as a company to know that we have patient demographic and health information in our platform. So we want to do whatever we can to protect that data. We want to do whatever we can to protect our professional reputation too. So make sure that if there's any possible cyber incident, that we have the right processes and systems to ensure that any effect is minimized. But most importantly, in this commercial sense, is we actually want to unlock some of those barriers that would prevent us from selling to hospitals. So a hospital at the moment will not entertain the idea of purchasing or procuring any sort of product that doesn't meet really strict cybersecurity requirements. So this was something that we ultimately viewed as a key enabler for us to access the market, and something we've invested in over the past 12 months, and something we actually just attained in the past couple of weeks. So something that's been really good for the team. But the scrutiny doesn't end just at cybersecurity evaluation. It could be privacy impact assessment. So we had to demonstrate all of that across multiple workflows in health. We had to demonstrate how we handle all of the patient data, how we protect it, how we capture informed patient consent for them to utilize the platform. We had to demonstrate our alignment with privacy principles, who owns the data, who has access to the data. We do annual vulnerability and penetration testing that's run by an independent company. So there's a lot of overhead, a lot of compliance overhead, and a lot of responsibility to get to that point where you can act as an enterprise. But this is what it takes to sell into health at the moment. So the reality, therefore, I think for anyone looking to sell into health or any really high-risk environment, and this is particularly relevant to selling into health, is that this clinical safety side of things and the protection of data and all of those sorts of things are non-negotiable. So if you've got all the privacy principles met and you host your data in Australia and you're compliant with data sovereignty laws, but you don't meet the cyber evaluation or you can't pass the clinical evaluation, then ultimately you're just not going to get through. One of the things that we do see from time to time is this last point here. Trust is slow to build, but fast to lose. So fortunately, nothing that we've encountered, but every couple of months, some health tech vendor around the country or one of their partners or providers manages to get hacked. They end up in the news and in most cases don't manage to do business again. So, this is really important for us to build up that trust, but know that this is not just a one-off process. This is a process of maintaining that, particularly in the cybersecurity space where we need to maintain it and not get complacent and not risk losing it. So I'll summarize all of my key points there with sort of a couple of highlights that I think are the ones really worth noting. And these are really worded towards a health tech startup, but I think broadly applicable to any startup. The first is that my approach has been to sell the opportunity. So if I'd said to this hospital, let's implement this platform over the next few months, they just wouldn't have nibbled. It just wouldn't have even been entertained at that level. So it's been an 18-month journey to get to this point. I think I sold them the opportunity to collaborate, the opportunity to learn from one another, the opportunity for them to innovate, the opportunity for them to show their patients that they care about patient outcomes and experience. So that was a really pivotal piece in our approach. Use your credibility, leverage whatever networks and past successes and contacts that you have to get your foot in that first door. I mentioned this as my really number one key takeaway, that you need to operate like an enterprise early. And final point there is, and I didn't really talk about this in the slides, but I thought it might be a nice little concluding point, is that This cost of compliance and this enterprise readiness that I've described, it sounds like a massive headache. It should not be considered as anything other than a growth lever, as something that will accelerate and or enable your access to the market. So companies who don't do some of these things just won't get through those first stage gates, and we'll never probably get the product over the line and sold into hospitals. Thanks so much. That's me.
Thanks so much, Josh. I'd like to invite both speakers. We'll do some Q&As and have a discussion. Who has a question to kick off? Yep. Inyan?
Hi. So you told us your strength and background is product focus. My question is, who was the first hired employee
Yep.
and also partner? And can you tell me what the reason was?
Yeah, sure. So there's a couple of answers to that. So the first hire was my CTO, but it wasn't a hire as such. I brought him on as a co-founder, as a technical co-founder, so Chief Technology Officer. So I am not someone who's ever typed a line of code since my first year of university probably, and I never did a good job of that either. So I always knew I would need a technical co-founder to be the person who could build the product, who could manage the cybersecurity, create the robust architecture, all of those sorts of things. So probably not the first hire, but the first person in the business to join me in this pursuit. We then hired a UI UX designer and 2 software developers to support that process. So the UI UX designer who leveraged a lot of the co-design insights that I was able to attain from those focus groups and those sessions that I ran with hospital patients, and build out a product that was really intuitive and easy for patients to use, because our demographic of patients can range from 15, 16 years old right through to 80s, 90s potentially. So the user interface design was a really big piece that came for us right at the start of the journey. Our product's evolved quite a bit since then, so that's an ongoing process of keeping him around to support that process. There was another part of the question, which was, who are we working with? I can't name the hospital yet because we've got an agreement in place that says I won't name them, but when they're a fully paying customer and we've got them fully on board, I'll be able to share more.
Yeah, sorry. Do you want to share the mic?
Yeah. Mike Hogg.
The main character today is the mic. Yeah.
What was the question? Again?
First hire?
Okay, so we are 3 co-founders to start with. And so 2 of us are from the pursuit industry. And then Byron, who is actually a personal friend of mine for the last 20 years, he's a brilliant system architect, and he is the techie in the team. What we've decided, I mean, we've looked at it and sliced it and diced it different way, and we wanted to be cost effective but have really good resources. So we went to market and we contracted through a master service agreement with a contractor in India, and we get resources for them. So we have 1 AI ML engineer, we have 2 front-end engineers and 2 back-end engineers working. I mean, the system we're building, it's interesting because we are not building for an end user to use. We're building for a business to use to sell through competitive tendering to government or regulated tenders, regulated industries. So one thing we don't have a problem with is that we don't have personal data issues. But on the other hand, the system we're building deals with some really complex workflows. So we have to have those resources. But having worked in Accenture and in Capita, we always have worked with colleagues in India. I've had really good experiences working with technical people in India, and we decided that's the way we're going to go. And we absolutely love working with them. In fact, I said to one of them, I'd like to adopt him because he's so adorable. I mean, I'm 52 years old. He's 20, so I can say that. My son is only 3 years younger than him. But yeah, we really, really like them, and we're having a hell of a time. We have a lovely team. The other thing I would just say as a side, although that was not part of your question, is that as startups, co-founders that are building something quite quickly with partners under pressures, we tend to ask a lot from really good people. And it is very, very important to keep in mind that the only way you're going to succeed if you have a team that really supports you, the only way they're going to support you if you look after them and they feel safe and they feel cared for. So although we're bringing them through a contractor, for me, they are my team and I want them to be happy. And I think we're having a hell of a time. So thank you.
Yeah, quick question. First of all, very insightful. Really appreciate that for someone going through a similar, much earlier stage, but this is really, really helpful. I've got a few questions, but I'm going to ask one and being respectful. Question for you, Josh. I think you mentioned about selling into a regulated industry, some of the challenges. My background, cyber, data, all that, building an AI security platform. But with the burden of, I guess, getting ISO certified and all the frameworks around that, that's costly. That's and also time consuming, right? So from a perspective of, I guess, raising funds and doing things, and maybe this is going backwards, but how did you navigate that? If you can share anything, because obviously you've got to come into it with something. You can't just suddenly say, "I'm going to put this," right? It's
Totally. Yeah, it's a great question and something I actually ended up cutting from my slides. So I went about this in two ways. The first is I have a relationship with RMIT University. So we have an intern program relationship with them for data science students, computer science, and cybersecurity, and also the Australian Women in Security Network, who we work with over the summer trimester. So every trimester throughout the year, we have 2 cybersecurity interns working with us at any time. They're in the final stages of their university studies, but they're able to support us with documentation, which is a big part of the certification. They're able to support us in stress testing and challenging our approach to cybersecurity certifications and data recovery. They help us with desktop exercises and tabletop exercises. So that's been really valuable. And a cyber intern armed with AI is a pretty powerful intern these days. So we've really been able to leverage that effectively. We started our journey for the cybersecurity certification in January last year, and we just attained it about 3 weeks ago. So a long journey. We were told at the time when we wanted to go for the certification that we had 2 viable options. One was to pay a security consultant to come and help us out and pay him a shitload of money. And so I wasn't interested in that idea, being a cash-strapped founder. The other idea was to get a Vanta or one of these large platforms that you plug in your tech stack and everything else, and it automates a lot of it, and you're committed to paying about $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. So I took the option that everybody told me never, ever, ever take, and that was to do it all ourselves internally with the support of interns. It meant I learned a lot more along the way, and we did a lot more ourselves, and we knew that whilst our product was being built and we had long sales cycles to contend with, it wasn't going to be a barrier for us in that period of time, and we could afford to wait that 12 months. We still had to pay about $25,000 for cybersecurity just to auditing alone. So that was a big cost, and it's all bootstrap company that I've founded myself and fully funded myself. So, but was really fortunate in that through StartSpace, I attained the Lisa Ringen Family Scholarship here about 14 months ago, and committed the entirety of those funds to that initial part of that certification process. So get lucky, win some money is my advice there, mate.
You're still working with a B2B, and they normally bidding for regulated market or government. So the government has demands in that, and obviously they will have also. You are putting in your platform their proprietary data. So like I said, we don't have a product yet that they can yet use. Yet we are already in the process of doing ISO 27001 readiness and SOC 2. Type 2, which we need to start with SOC 2 and then. And we have gone slightly different. So we have someone who is part-time when we need them as a security analyst to deal with the documentation. We had to do a lot of documentation for the partners anyway to start with, which was actually a good thing. I'm quite happy about that. But we also have gone with one of the platforms. I mean, I wouldn't trust a platform to do the documentation because, as you have heard, there has been some issues with that. But the platform does help with a lot of other things and makes it slightly cheaper. Now, my industry, I suppose your certification cost also changes based on the demands of, your platform. And I don't even want to think about how much we're going to end up paying. But after that, we also have to do IRAP, because that's very important for us to be able to sell to defense. So yeah, it's all there. It's all in the roadmap, and in our case, we have self-financed. We're all old people who have worked before and did all the stuff. So we thought we would put some chunk of money, and then we'll start getting money through the design partners. We have 4 design partners. We're hoping to close 5. That's not bad. That helps.
So don't do it as a solo founder.
Oh, no.
Thank you. We'll take one more question.
Thank you. Great conversation so far, perfect timing. Josh, this question's for you. It sounded like you said that your initial pilot that you've just been going through, were you self-funded and now going to contract? Is there a reason why you went that way around?
Why we self-funded? Because I don't want to give up any equity to anyone that doesn't care about the business as much as I do, essentially. I made the decision that we would try and hold off on raising any capital for as long as we could, on the basis that I thought if we raised in the early days, the company wouldn't have any runs on the board. It would be devalued to where I think it could essentially get. So I made the decision that we would try and hold on as long as possible. And as we've started to gain traction, we've got partners, we've got some product built, and we've got some good proposals out there we're hoping will translate to sales in the coming months. We're thinking, is this a company that we can run fairly lean for many years to come and avoid the big tech teams, avoid all these additional costs that we would have if we wanted to really scale it, and try and run it as a sort of small to medium specialized software company. We've committed myself and my co-founder to try and do that and operate that way. That being said, I haven't had a salary for 2.5 years. I'm funding it through another business that my wife and I run as well. So it's that's sort of how that's achieved. Yeah, I was just trying to eliminate any possible friction or barrier to entry. At the time it was a vision. I presented some mock-ups of some some screenshots of things that I thought, it was literally selling vaporware. And to put $1 to it, I thought if I had 5 hospitals respond to me and say, yep, all right, well, let's have a chat, maybe I would have tried to milk some money from one of them. I had one of the 8, so I had to hang on and make that work. Yeah, so it was out of making sure I didn't let the deal fall over more than anything. They have since paid for additional extensions on pilots and things as well now that they're happy with it though. Yeah.
And to be fair, the industry where you are, Josh, is a very hard to crack one. So for us, it's a lot cheaper for them to do, and it's also a lot less risks than for the health tech industry, because there is end users involved, patients. So to get them to pay from the beginning, especially when you have only one that is interested, is very hard.
One more quick one.
Quick question.
Just a quick question. Did you have to deal with body corporate at all?
No. Should I be worried? What have I not thought of? For private hospitals who we're working with now, yeah.
Thank you. I've got one last question. So it's all about funding in general, and you did not want to argue investors or working on online with your mission. What are potential avenues? How did you, just very quickly, how did you fund, and what are some ideas that early stage founders that are looking to sort of self-fund before reaching out for some investment funding?
I've got the mic, so I'll start. For me, it was about identifying a time in my life where my wife and I felt like the finances were in order, that we were generating enough consistent revenue from another company that we run, which is a tech and digital recruitment company, and that we could move some money across from that after convincing my wife a couple of times. So it felt like that was an option that we had available to us. We didn't have to raise, therefore we chose not to. That was just the approach that we took at the time. Are there any other opportunities, avenues out there that one can? Actually, sorry, that was the other part of the question. So we were also accepted into the And Health Accelerator program about 6 months into launching the company. So that's the Australian National Digital Health Accelerator program. So they support early stage startups in digital health. We were one of the 15 companies selected in the 2024 cohort, and they prepare us over the course of that 6 months to be able to raise capital, take us through the process, help us prepare our documentation, do all of those things. But at the end of it, I got so scared off from it all. I thought, no, I don't want to give up all that for all that. Yeah. So was there another question?
So in terms of funding, bit like Josh, we, myself and my husband, we have worked for years, and we are now, my husband is semi-retired. I'm in my 50s, so we could actually afford to self-fund to a certain degree, which is good. Absolutely don't want to give any equity at this stage, because that would be just, I don't see the point if you can do it yourself. And the other thing that's very helpful is that we also are running on the side the consultancy, which brings decent money to keep us going while the checks are coming from the design partners. But like Josh, I'm not having a salary, so neither is any of the co-founders for now. But that's, you know, that's something we decided to do and we can afford right now.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
So the design partners don't get any equity.
Oh, no. No equity, no IP. They get the pleasure of working with us.
Happy to give pleasure.
Thank you. Great. That really wraps up the formal session. So once again, please applause for our speakers.